Hello and happy 2021. We did it. We made it through 2020, and I have a big New Year announcement. The show has launched a Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can support us and help the podcast grow. Patreon perks include exclusive action scene breakdowns, voting for show questions, monthly AMAs, and more. Find us on Patreon at patreon.com/actionfilmmaking or at our website actiondecoded.com. And thank you so much for your support.
Just wanted to give a big thank you to everyone listening to this podcast episode. Our sponsor for this episode is Anchor. Anchor is the all-in-one place to record your podcast. And don't worry, it's completely free. It allows you to record straight from your phone or computer. You can also distribute your podcast through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many more. So download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm.
When I was going to get hit by a car or we were going to blow a house up and set me on fire, we'd probably bring in 6 cameras. You know, the first AD would be in the middle of the set and he'd be yelling out, "Okay, roll on A!" And you'd hear the guy scream, "Rolling on A!" And you'd hear everyone sound off on all the cameras, "Rolling, rolling, rolling."
This is the Action Filmmaking Decoded podcast. A podcast dedicated to raw action analysis.
Ooh, my gosh. For fans of action cinema out there, how badass would that be?
Each week, we bring you a new action filmmaker to break down your favorite scenes.
360 off person, round kick the guy from a 360 spin.
Now, introducing your hosts, Darren Tunn and Mike Messina.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Action Filmmaking Decoded podcast. My name is Darren Tunn, and I'm here with my co-host, Mike Messina. Today, we're introducing a very special guest, Garrett Warren. Garrett is the self-proclaimed best one-eyed balding stunt coordinator, second unit director in all of Hollywood. He's worked on films such as Logan, Avatar, and Alita Battle Angel, as well as worked with talent such as Hugh Jackman, Mickey Rourke, James Cameron, and Stephen Spielberg, just to name a few. Mike, what are some big takeaways from this episode?
You know, this one's been such a long time coming. And over the past few weeks, I'm seeing Garrett Warren, this guy with a literal eye patch. And I'm thinking, man, what a manly man. And then he comes on the show and you realize he's so poetic in a lot of ways and so artistic in a lot of ways. And you'll see there's this clip right at the beginning of the episode where he's talking in this very poetic way about what it's like to be in the hot seat when the cameras are whirring and then you're about to do this really big life-threatening stunt, and he puts you right in the hot seat with his words, and it was a memorable clip, definitely.
Oh, yeah. And I think I really particularly enjoyed when he broke down that farmhouse scene from Logan, actually. That scene was just something that I really even remember to this day, even after watching Logan a couple of years ago. And man, like I rewatched that scene so many times, and it was just incredible to watch him, or at least to hear him break that down, even from a technical perspective, but also from a story perspective, as well as working with James Mangold and coordinating those stunts with him. It was just crazy to hear, and you guys have to take a listen to this. So yeah, Garrett, how's everything holding up with you?
I'm in Wellington finishing a project. I've been here for since May, and everything's going very well. Started this project. I've been on this project, the movie that I'm on right now. I'm not allowed to talk about it, but I've been on it for 4 years. And last year we came here for, I believe it was 7 months or 8 months. Then we shut down for the holidays, and we came back just after COVID had hit, and we've been here since May. Yeah, so we've been here in Wellington, finishing for the whole time that the COVID problem has hit the rest of the world.
How's it in Wellington right now?
Well, it's amazing over here because they don't have it. You know, you don't wear a mask ever. This place is completely COVID free, and so. Yeah, we're 100% normal. You know, it's life as you know it. You can go to a movie theater. Wow. You can go. I just went to a farmer's market just now and came back and was walking around everyone.
Wow, that's great. So it's just like the population is lower, or it's just.
Yeah, well, yes, they don't let people travel in and out. So they did a smart thing when this whole pandemic hit. They closed their borders down right away. We were only able to get here under strict circumstances, actually. What happened is the director and the producer of the film, who did a great job, as well as the studio, we had special dispensation because we had started this, a year ago and have been working with Wellington for Weta and so forth for years. So we already had basically an essential business because we had employed so many people. But at the same token, in order for us to get here, we went through so many hoops, it'd make your mind spin. We had to do 2 weeks of quarantine in LA before we got here. We had to charter our own plane, have our own TSA security, have our own airport that we flew into when we got to Wellington. We had to have 2 weeks of quarantining in our own hotel. We had to take a bus, a bus. So everything was really well thought out. And when we got here, of course, we were tested before we got on the plane. We were tested after we got off the plane. We were tested before we left our hotel rooms. Every day we had to check in with the Ministry of Health to see if we were feeling any symptoms. And of course, nobody had any symptoms. And we finished filming. We will finish filming this Tuesday, and no one here has gotten any cases of it whatsoever.
Wow, that must have been pretty crazy to manage, especially since film crews are so big.
Yeah, it's been crazy. And I'll tell you right now, my hat's off to everyone that had to do all of the things that we did, because their planning was a true testament to the success that we've seen. So I mean, I wish I could tell the viewers, or not viewers, but the listeners, what I'm working on, but I'm sure everyone kind of might know what I'm working on. It's somewhat of a well-known thing on the internet. I'm just not allowed to. I signed an NDA.
Yes.
I'm not allowed to say anything.
Totally understandable.
Yes, I'm sure everyone will find out soon enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome to hear that you're still able to do some things. Even better to hear that everyone's being safe about it. And I should probably start off with, hi, my name's Mike, because I know you and Darren have been sort of corresponding for a while now. Actually, you've been trying to get this interview going for several weeks now, and stuff keeps coming up between all three of us.
It's been crazy. It's because unfortunately we're in the final stages of finishing this film. And this film is a very big deal in the sense that we have so many moving parts. We have a young child that's growing up. And of course, we had to try to film as much as we could with that person before he grew out of his character. And so at the same token, we had a number of deadlines we had to meet. Fortunately, one of our deadlines got pushed back, and now we don't have to have the film released as soon as possible. So now they can do a little bit more finishing work. But I can tell you that the project I'm working on is more than just a film itself. It speaks to the culture of our world and community. And it's very much like the first Avatar that I did over 12 years ago now, So it's very much like that in the sense that it has a bigger message to tell the world. And I'm so proud of the fact that we've done this film again.
Awesome. All about those messages. Can't wait to see more about it and to see it eventually.
Yep.
And I'd love to talk a little bit about martial arts with you, because I know you sort of came up as a fighter, as a martial artist, before jumping onto on-screen work. I'm also a martial arts nerd myself. And I know I read online you went from Taekwondo to then eventually Muay Thai in Thailand itself, and just sort of discovering leg kicks and all those Thai techniques, which is a pretty common narrative, I feel like, sometimes between martial artists going from one art to another. Do you still have that urge to fight or to compete in the ring at all?
I do. Fighting in the ring is probably one of the most beautiful, poetic moments of your life, because there is no gray area. You get hit, or don't get hit. That's all there is to it. You hit someone, so it's the business of getting into the ring is somewhat difficult. However, but once you are inside of that ring and you are standing toe to toe with someone else, it really is just the most simple life ever. And I miss those things. So yes, I do wish I could go back in the ring and fight.
Yeah. And I know one thing I'm definitely excited to do after quarantine and everything sort of blows over is getting back to some in-person training and getting punched in the face a little bit.
I like it. I like it a lot too. And I miss it. Fortunately for me, we've been able to train out here,
Wow. Okay.
The director I work with, can't really tell you who it is. He trains at least twice a week, if not 3 times a week. And we have eskrima sticks as well as shinai, bamboo swords, as well as staffs and stuff. So we do everything from, Filipino arts to Muay Thai to just close quarter battle stuff. And we'll do everything from boxing and hitting the pads to hitting sticks. And we just have the best time ever. So I've been a little bit spoiled over here. I'm going to go back to Los Angeles and have to fight my kids.
I hope you win. I hope you can take them.
Yeah, I think I can take care of them so far. They aren't old enough yet where they're going to beat me, but when they do, that day comes, I'll be a proud father when I can say, my son or my daughter finally put me down.
One day, not any day soon though. You're still training. You're still still up to the task.
Yeah, I still enjoy fighting. I even enjoy street fighting, to be honest with you. But I gotta stop that stuff.
Not on record, at least. Not officially.
No, not officially. But it's one of those things where even if you are in the street and we move around places that people start to get a little heated, and you can go into a situation where I was at a music festival here in Wellington.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
And a fight broke out right next to me. And an awful lot of people freaked out, you know what I mean? But I was able to grab a person and pull them back and separate the two of them. And one of the guys kind of like clipped me while I was trying to stop them from fighting, Wow. It wasn't that bad of a hit. Well, look, I've been hit all my life. So
yeah,
in the sense of, do I like to street? No, I don't like to go out there and pick a fight with someone, but I like to be able to handle a situation like that. So I guess I should clarify what I mean by street fighting.
Defend yourself, kind of.
Well, not just even, but also handle a situation. So if something breaks,
right.
You can actually be a person that helps out a situation and doesn't just step back and watch it unfold and someone get, you know what I mean?
Definitely. And whenever people, talk to me about training self-defense, like, what are the odds that you're actually going to...
That's a different world.
Multiply the amount of people who are attacked by anyone who's ever been bystanding around someone who's been attacked or seen any kind of altercation at all. That's the real number that you're talking about in terms of can training like this really impact people being able to stop these things from happening, hopefully even before they start. So yes, recognizing as a bystander, you can do things as well and help out the situation is key, I think.
Yeah, those people that say, how many times are you really going to have to use this in the street? You have to say to them, what about that one time you're going to have to?
Mm-hmm.
There is going to be that one time. And I tell my kids this all the time. My daughters and my sons growing up when they were younger, Dad, I don't want to fight. They teach us not to fight in the schoolyard. And I keep telling them the same thing. One day you're going to have to. I don't care who you are. Anybody that has gone their life without ever having to get into some kind of altercation, God bless them, because, that's a special thing. I grew up in Boston in a very, Irish neighborhood where fighting was kind of a thing. It's just, that's what you do when you're a kid over there. And so I try to teach my kids that one day you're going to either get hit or have to hit somebody. And when that happens, you have to learn that it's not something to be afraid of or to panic over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the self-defense comes in. That's where training comes in. And you're right. I did Taekwondo for a number of years. I did Kempo for a while. I did a number of things before I got on to Muay Thai. And I have to admit, Muay Thai opened my eyes. Taekwondo, fantastic. I love the exercise. I love the drills. I love all the martial arts that are out there in the world. But let me tell you, man, when you learn Muay Thai, you become someone that's proficient at taking a punch and giving a punch and defending yourself or being able to deal with someone.
But yeah, I want to pick up from fighting still and martial arts. I know somewhere you mentioned that younger audiences or younger filmmakers don't really know the experience of hearing like a high-speed camera right before a stunt. Yeah. And I was wondering, is that kind of like stepping into the ring for like a Muay Thai fight or a Taekwondo? Is that the same kind of feeling for you?
It is. It is. You've nailed it right on the head. Oh, man. Yeah. Good for you. Because I tell you right now, honestly, one of the things that I love so much, the old days of film, I hate the fact that I just said that, guys. But, back in the 90s and the 80s and stuff like that, we didn't have digital cameras. We had film cameras. And for the audience that doesn't know, when you guys roll your cameras, your 5D Mark IIs or Mark IVs or your Sony A7Ss, whatever it is, you guys don't hear anything. All you see is the numbers pass by. Back in the day when we rolled the camera, you'd hear zzz, like this noise. When I was going to get hit by a car or we were going to blow a house up and set me on fire, we'd probably bring in 6 cameras or maybe 4 cameras. And you'd have 4 guys all around you, and they'd have these huge magazines on top of the cameras. And they yell out, the first AD would be in the middle of the set and he'd be yelling out, okay, roll on A. And you'd hear the guys scream, rolling on A. And you'd hear everyone sound off on all the cameras, rolling, rolling, rolling. And you'd hear all of the cameras go, zzz, and they hit this really high pitch. And you just hear that going, oh my gosh, and your nuts jump up inside your chest and you go, man, it's about to get real right now, right? And they say, action! Yeah. And you run out into that street and you hear them all rolling, and all of a sudden it just gets quiet. and you don't hear anything until that car hits you, and whoa, and you go upside down and you hit that concrete and you spin out of control and you land face down. And that's when all of a sudden nothing hurts, but everything sounds so vivid, because then all of a sudden you hear everyone around you, is he okay? Cut. Then everything hurts right away. And you're like, oh my gosh, my ankles, my feet, my wrist. And then you get up and you don't say a word to anyone. You suck it up and you go, oh, I'm good. You need another one? And in your mind, you're saying, please don't need another one. Please don't need another one, right? And like, no, I think we got it. Let's review, And so I don't think, the world will never know any longer. Well, maybe I guess if you work on a Chris Nolan film or a Paul Thomas Anderson film or a Quentin Tarantino film, because they still shoot, with celluloid, then you're going to hear that high speed sound, and I miss it. And I love it so much. And that's like getting into the ring. The smell before you get into the ring is so vivid that it will just make you automatically realize where you are in this world. You can lose your sight and smell that and realize that you're about to go into battle, and it smells like victory, and it smells like joy. That's what it smells like, all the pungent odors and the sweat and the blood that's around you and the cleaning supplies and the tape. Man, it all just mixes together into this amazing aroma. And I miss the ring. Yeah, you're right. High-speed camera is like the ring.
It reminds me a lot about when Jackie Chan talked about his stunt at the end of Police Story. And they only had like this one take, and he just did it.
That's
it.
He
just went for it.
That's it. That's exactly what it's like, man. At that point, you just suck it up. I was doing a TV series in Hawaii called The Raven, and they had built this well for me to fall down. And the well was 25 feet high. And they asked me how much water I needed to fall into from 25 feet to be safe. I told them, I said, I could probably do it into about 8 feet of water. You put 8 feet of water down there, I should be safe if that's good. And I get there, and it's about under 4. And I was freaking out, because I'm thinking to myself, and it's a narrow well, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to spike myself right through this water into this ground and break my neck. But they had built it, and they're ready to film it. And so it's like, suck it up, man, just shut up and do it, And so I got up there, and, they said action, and I stepped off, and they all freaked out. They went, cut. Are you okay? What's going on? What's the matter? Right? And I was like, no, I'm fine. Just a little freaked out here. Give me a check. Give me a second here. Let's do it. Take 2. Hold on. I just sucked it up, didn't look down, let them roll, kept my eyes up, and I screamed bloody murder at the coordinator for setting this stupid piece of trash stunt up. As I jumped down, I screamed. I can't say the word probably on your show, but I screamed out the word as I screamed out, fuck you, as I fell down into the water. And I just tried to get as flat as I could, and I tried to feel the walls as much as possible. And I hit the water, and I hit turning to my back, and I went through, and I hit the ground pretty hard, but I was able to roll over to my back well enough where it just like knocked the wind out of me. And, I sucked some water up, but I got right up to my feet, and I was fine.
So the words thrill seeker sort of come to mind as we've been talking to you here. Do you consider yourself something of a thrill seeker?
No. Yeah, of course I am. Of course I am. Of course. It's when I was growing up in Boston, we had a garage, and I used to sled off of the garage onto the ground, and it started in the snow, and then it would be, all right, you guys grab this blanket, see if you can catch me. And then I'd try to even when I was a kid, I'd try to jump my big wheel over my friends. And I don't know if the audience knows what a big wheel is, but it's a little plastic 3-wheel bike, and you're not jumping that over anyone. And I wanted to be Evel Knievel so bad. And so, yeah, I'm a thrill seeker. Yes.
Okay. I definitely got that vibe so far. And so we hear that Charlie's Angels was one project where you really started to learn the craft of choreography specifically. What did that process sort of look like for you? Were you in charge of something, or were you sort of shadowing someone else, seeing them do choreography?
On that one, we had martial arts crew come out from China to do all the fight choreography. And the stunt coordinator was Vic Armstrong, who is a legend in the action industry. I was actually just the double for Crispin Glover, the creepy thin guy. And I wasn't in charge of choreographing the whole thing at all, but I was able to learn from those guys an awful lot. There was a guy named Tiger Chen on it, and he was absolutely genius. Dee was on it, and there's some amazing martial artists that were on there. And I can tell you that it was one of the most eye-opening experiences I had ever had in my life. I also had done a movie before that where I was in the south of France, and we were doing a Choi Hawk movie called Double Team with Van Damme and so forth. And I was doubling Van Damme. And so once again, I was working with a Chinese crew, and they were fantastic. But, to work with the likes of Dee Dee and Tiger on Charlie's Angels was just absolutely, head and shoulders above all the others.
Interesting. And then sort of fast forwarding from then to now, what does your general process look like when you're choreographing fights in action now? Is there a place where you always start and then go from there?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, the beginning of all choreography, of all that you do is story. Anybody ever comes to you and says, what's most important? And everyone knows the most important thing out of a movie is story, the script. So the first thing you do is you get a script. The second thing you do is you ask the director if he has any storyboards or previs, like some animation or anything like that they've done. And if they do, that gives you a little bit more of a leg up. But sometimes they don't have it. And what you do is, after you read the script and you get the whole idea of the story, what this character is, because you can't just go out there and do badass action. You have to know, does this guy know what he's doing or not know what he's doing? And just what is the story, the underlying story behind why he's there and what his goal is out of this fight and what the goal of the director is out of the fight. So don't just automatically jump to a page, read an action sequence and go out there and slam some action down. Read the whole story and figure out what it's going to take to get this action to service the story. That's my first step when it comes to doing any kind of fight choreography. The second thing I do is I usually like to try to sit down with a director and show them ideas, whether it be stuff that I've shot in the past, or if there's movies out there that he's seen that he likes, or there can be sometimes reference footage of real fights from street fights. And I'll take that and I'll say, okay, check this out. Tell me what you think. Oh, I like this. Oh, I don't like that. He might not like any of it. And then he might say, remember the fight in The Firstborn? I'm kind of going for that kind of feel. You go, okay, great. So you ascertain, once he says that he wants a Filipino style. He wants a lot of like slap and trap. He wants a lot of, high speed returning kind of choreography where it's not just big, huge, monster blows, where it's precision, block, slip, side to side, things like that. So once you get that done with the director, your next step is you get your fight team together. I have a fight choreographer that I work with named Steve Brown, who's been with me for the past, 5 years. And we've done everything from the X-Men movie to Logan to even the comedy movie, Why Him? And we are constantly trying to bounce ideas. And when this film is done and I get back to LA, we get out in my garage and all we do is just go over choreography all the time. And what we'll do is we'll steal ideas that we want to do and we'll just try to design action sequences, film them in my garage, and then use those in the future for anything that pops up. And that's why I'll sit down with the director and show him some things and see what he likes. It's like someone that just sits down to create music. If they create some kind of sound, they just love it and they record it, then they have it in their back pocket to use in the future.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we do. Once that's done, we then get all the doubles, the whole fight team together. We go out into some kind of a training space. And we usually put up cardboard boxes to create walls, and we try to map out the location that we're fighting in. And then we go ahead and we shoot our version of what the fight should be. And some directors like it, some directors don't like it. Some directors like Jim Cameron doesn't want you to shoot the sequence because he doesn't want to be backed into what your vision of his action is supposed to be. So what he wants you to do is keep the angle wide. He wants to see the whole idea of what you're trying to do action-wise, and then allow him to figure out how he's going to shoot it, where the camera should be placed. Should it be receiving? Should it be on the other side? And then from there, he allows us to cut something together later. But for the most part, there's a lot of directors that like it if you cut the whole sequence together the way that you think you might like. They want to see what your vision is. And then they might steal some ideas from it and say, oh, this is really good. And they might not like it. And they say, okay, like James Mangold, he wanted me to shoot.
For Logan, yeah.
Yeah, he wanted me to shoot all the action sequences, cut them together, show him. And then he was saying, no, I don't like this. I don't. So he would actually be directing it through my previs. And I would show him the shots. And then he would give me notes and say, no, this should be a tight shot. This should be a wide shot. Move the camera throughout. Cut this piece of action out, and then, go back, reshoot this, bring it back to me, and let me tell you if I like it or not. So we'd go back to the drawing board so many times for him. And in the end, we'd finally have this cut piece, and he says, this is it. This is the sequence. He goes, that's what you're going to shoot the second unit. And that way, basically, he still directed it himself, but we facilitated it for him. And that's the idea of what I do for choreography.
Interesting. And did that ever change from that final previs to the actual shoot?
On Logan, no. Logan, it was spot on, shot for shot. It was amazing. For, things like Avatar, yes, all the time. He would get there, and Jim is definitely one of those kinds of audible directors. And by audible, I mean like football playing audible. When a quarterback calls an audible and changes the play on the day. When he gets there and he's got the actors and he's got this ability to sit inside the space and really think properly about what should be going on, he then changes everything. And he doesn't change it to the sense where he throws out everything you did. He just changes the whole idea of how it could start and what the storyline should really be. And for him, it's all about story. It's all about character development. It's not so much the action services the character and the story and not the other way around. And so that's fantastic.
Yeah. And it kind of sounds like as a stunt coordinator, you take on a lot of roles and like you do editing, you shoot, you work around CGI. Do you think that it's something important for stunt coordinators to know?
Yes, incredibly. I mean, if they have not gone out there and, I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but I still to this day take classes online. There's a thing called there's a thing called proedu.com, and I hate that I just gave them a shameless plug. But anyways, I still sign up for Robert McGee has script writing seminars that he does, and I take those online so I can help as far as my ability to write story as well. And I still take acting classes, and I still take editing classes because I want to learn all the different formats that are going on out there. Final Cut just came back around. It is now becoming a workforce. So I'm starting to take more classes and getting better at Final Cut again because I was just with Premiere Pro for a long time. And before that, I was, really educated and avid. So yes, if you're a stunt coordinator or even a stunt person, you need to not just be out there getting, hit in the head. You need to go out there and expand your head. You need to go and take some classes.
That was good. That was good. Do you think that's the same for other positions as well, not just the stunt team, but like you said, editors or anyone else for that matter?
I mean, it makes you more valuable. It makes you much more of a necessary tool because they're going to go to you for advice on many things, not just one thing. And if you limit yourself to being the best at one thing, that's not a bad idea, but it will still just limit you. Don't forget that being great at many things and professional, the best at one thing, is the way to handle the movie industry.
Very wise, very wise. And I know one of those other things for you personally seems to be photography. I see a lot of interesting photography on your Insta feed. Where did that passion for you personally start?
Dude, I love photography. I mean, whether it be Helmut Newton or Rodney Smith or, there's a girl named Maria Zvarbova over in, I think she's in Czech Republic. I might be bad. I shouldn't say that. But anyways, she's an amazing photographer. So where did my desire and love for photography come from? I don't know. I guess that I used to look at a lot of magazines like karate magazines and even like Vogue and Men's Fitness and GQ magazines. And I used to love those pictures. And for the most part, you know what? I'll tell you what, here's another thing too. And I never realized it until this moment. So thank you guys. Growing up, my mom took me to a lot of museums, a ton of museums. Being in Boston, there's so many museums that it makes your mind spin. So we used to go and see everyone from Renoir to Monet to you name it, to all sorts of paintings. And I used to just marvel at some of the pictures that I was looking at. Never really got into a lot of the other artists that were a little bit more, and I'm not going to say their names because I don't want to be that guy, but there's some artists out there that are very interpretive and would do things where you have to look at like a dot on a piece of paper. To me, I always thought that was, that minimalist approach was not enough, but I liked people that would go out there and create a story within one single image. And so getting a little bit older, I would watch movies like Wes Anderson, and Wes Anderson would shoot the frame, and Jim Cameron talks about this all the time. He would shoot the frame. Jim Cameron was basically like a set designer before he was a director, and he would create this amazing set that he wanted to shoot, and then he'd put actors into it, whereas a lot of times people have this idea where they want to shoot these actors, and even though they have this amazing set around them, they're so mind-driven on just shooting the action that they miss that big painting that they had created all around them. And that is something that I've always loved. So I think really it stems from my mother's desire to take me to museums. That's what's maybe, I go to the LACMA all the time and see pieces of art on the wall, and I say, oh my gosh, I could write a movie about this. And that's where it comes from. That's why I love photography. I will tell you guys a story within one picture.
Interesting. So it sounds like you've already, at least a bit, sort of reconciled that love for and that passion for the still frame with everything you do with moving frames and with stunts and with film storytelling.
Yes. Photography, first of all, will give you the tools that you need as a filmmaker to become a great aesthetic modeler. You know what I mean? When you are a photographer, not only will you learn about light, framing, lens size and so forth, but you'll also learn about how to blur the background out and make the foreground subject pop, or how to make both the foreground and the background sharp so you can see everything. And that's where photography becomes a key element to being a filmmaker. When you're a filmmaker, you're just doing moving images all the time. So you're just constantly loving the action that's happening in front of you. But if you stop, take a step back and look at the still frame you just made, you're going to see a number of things that are going to set off various emotions. If I blur the background and make the foreground subject sharp, then I'm going to create this tunnel vision for the audience, and I'm going to create an emotional response. Whereas if I leave everything sharp, even the background, and I create this painting, I'm going to open your mind up. I'm going to open your soul up. I'm going to allow you guys to open up what you're feeling when you're watching this action. So that's why photography, I think, is one of the most important things that I ever learned.
Yeah. And I think that constraint of staying within one single picture really helps filmmakers think in a different way.
I agree with you. It cuts the bullshit out, because don't forget, a lot of people will shoot a lot of stuff on camera and you get bored. You know that? Yeah. You will. Yeah. You will get bored. There's a lot of times where I watch movies and I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, I don't need to see all this shoe leather. I don't need to see all of this. And this is a bunch of unnecessary stuff. Shooting a picture and creating one story within that single frame will teach you how to consolidate what you're trying to tell the audience quickly.
Right. And I really love seeing some of these film grabs, basically just like these screenshots from different movies and being able to tell what's happening just from those screenshots, Me
too. I think screen grabs from movies are some of my favorite things in the world. I steal constantly from them. I think that, oh my gosh. Have you guys watched Blue Velvet?
I have not.
I want you guys to watch Blue Velvet. Trust me. But be ready. It's going to make you go, what? It's crazy. This movie's crazy, but it's genius. And I'm going to tell you right now, there are so many still frames that you can grab from it that are just unbelievable works of art, just from the still frames of that movie. But you can also grab still frames from Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner. And those movies, those still frames are just genius. So yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a still frame where you see Rutger Hauer and Daryl Hannah with her eyes painted and him lording over her shoulder. And it just speaks volumes as to what they're doing, because Rutger Hauer's face, although it's powerful and lording, it's also very calm and father-like. And hers is very childlike and serene and almost happy-go-lucky, all in that frame. And it just, within that one simple frame, you will get everything you need to know about the movie. And here's another one too. The android, Rachel, in the movie. There's a famous picture that everyone always screen grabs, and it's her sitting in a chair. Her hair is, in that bouffant kind of a do, and her legs are crossed, and she's got the cigarette in her hand. She's looking straight on. Her eyes are wide open, and she seems calm and placid, yet she also seems very cold and flat. And within that moment, you can realize, oh, this girl could be an android. So yeah, still frames from movies, like you said, are genius. And my hat's off to you for looking at those and getting stories out of them, because I get stories out of them all the time.
I'll rewatch Blade Runner again for the 80th time and take some stills of my own. Maybe that'll help.
Dude, just unbelievable. I agree with you. There's a website for those still frames. You know that?
Yeah, I believe there's a Film Grab website.
I know. I'm trying to remember what it was. Because, oh my gosh, I get stuff from it all the time. I was taking frames. I was taking frames from Jojo Rabbit the other day because I was trying to use it.
Oh yes.
I was using it to copy the colors.
Great coloring on that movie, by the way.
Correct. And so in Premiere Pro, you have the ability to copy, So what I'll do is, you can copy when you're doing the color correction on films, right? So what I'll do is I'll go to this site, and guys, I hate that I don't remember the name of this site.
I found a website. I think this is the one I use. Is filmgrab.com.
Yeah,
that's
there's another one that's
basically
there's another one out there that's got a high def one. That's super rich. That's amazing. That all the coloring companies use, all the film coloring companies use.
Interesting.
Yeah, if I can remember what it was called, it's like Still Shot or something like that. And I've got to remember.
We can put it in the description.
Yeah,
of the podcast.
If I can find it, I'll let you guys know what it is. But I go there and you take and make sure you download the high quality ones, not the low quality ones. You got to get the high quality ones that have the richest of the colors, and use that to help colorize, your projects when you're using, Premiere Pro or Final Cut or any of those programs out there that will copy colors.
Definitely. I know that's right up Darren's alley.
There you go.
And I wanted to pivot a little bit and just ask you quickly about, as an award-winning stunt performer, stunt choreographer for projects like Logan or various Transformers films, does that mean anything to you personally to receive any kind of recognition like that, especially not just for you personally, but also as sort of a leader of a larger team?
It does. When it's recognition from my peers, from other filmmakers, I don't live for it, but I do enjoy it, and I thank the people very much. And it's a true testament to the director and the film, that we've just done, because I'm only one cog in that machine. But it does mean a lot to get accolades, recognition for something I've done. It definitely is a nice pat in the back. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not a fan of the world, knowing that we exist. I really feel like we have to be the magicians, and I really feel like we're the guy behind the curtain, And I kind of want everyone to believe that the wizard, that face, is real, and the guy behind the curtain doesn't exist. And I remember when I came to California, at one point, a whole bunch of stunt people were saying, "Oh, there's tryouts for the stunt show over at Disneyland. We should all try to go over there and do it." And I was like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. It's going to take the magic away from me. If I go to Disneyland and I go behind the facade and I see that there's bare wood and plywood building these, set pieces, I'm not going to believe in the magic of Peter Pan anymore. And I don't want to do that. So I kind of hope the world takes us the way that I hope they'll get it. And that is the stunt community. We are supposed to be the magicians. And I don't want the world to know that if I was the stunt double, I don't want anyone to know I ever existed. I want everyone to think that Tom Cruise really did those stunts, or Jackie Chan really does those stunts. Or I don't want anyone to think that those actors didn't do that action. I want them to all think that the character really did it and they went on that journey, and I want them to fall in love with the stunt.
Yeah, that's part of the art form, is the magic of it.
Yeah, it's really nice to get recognition, and it's great when it's your peers and it's people you work with. Other than that, as far as like on the general public's side, I do try to stay as quiet as possible and not let the world know that there is someone designing action behind it. I think that everyone should think that it's the director and it's the actor, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely a great take on it. I wanted to touch upon Logan a little bit, actually. I spoke with Emmanuel. He was our previous guest on this podcast, and he mentioned that sometimes you throw the team into the deep end when it comes to coordinating some of these stunts and fight choreography. Would you agree with that description?
All the time. You got to realize that I'm busy doing a meeting or a scout. And so I tell, my fight choreographer, so Steve Brown was the guy that was designing all the fights with me on that one. And for the most part, I'll sit down and I'll tell him, like on Divergent, I was using JJ Perry. And so I'll tell JJ, this is what I want for a fight. And I'll even go over fights with those guys, and we'll get in my room and I'll show him what I want, and we'll videotape it and stuff. Then he'll go out with the guys and start doing it. Then I'll come in after I get done with my scout, and I'll say, okay, show me this fight. And I look at it and I go, no, I don't like this. No, I don't like the way he did this. No. So then I get back into the choreography of it right afterwards. So yes, I throw my team into the deep end all the time. I say, guys, go over there, sink or swim. Let's see. And if they sink, I reach down my hand and I grab them, I pull them up to the surface and go, yeah, that didn't work. And so if they swim, I go over there and I clap, and, I jump in the deep end with them and start swimming as well,
That's awesome. And I'm wondering, how do you kind of balance, I guess, your own thoughts and like your artistic vision, like with them as well?
You've got to allow them. First of all, you have to clearly and concisely tell them what you want. Okay, so if I was a director and I said, okay, remember the first Bourne Identity movie? You know, the fight scene inside the apartment, the way they were doing that Filipino style. I like the way they did that. I would like for you to go out there and design the same idea, but just don't make it so long. You know, I want the beginning part where the bad guy comes crashing through the window. I said, that's fantastic. Let the guy get hit. He should go down. He should come back up. There should be about 3 or 4 punch exchange between the two of them. No more, right? Then after that, grab the guy, take him through the door, get out into the hallway, and move all the way down the stairs. I said, I don't want to live in that house that long, okay? Go choreograph that for me. I'll come and check it out in a second. And when I get back, you know, we'll decide whether we like it or not. So I give you a specific idea, a specific design. And so I say, go for it. And for the most part, for like even Steve, I say, I want 3 versions. Come up with 3. 1, exact what I'm talking about. 2, vamp on what I'm talking about. 3, give me what you think it should be. Tell me what you have in your mind. And for the most
options.
Yeah. So for the most part, I'll come back and I'll go, love this. That's fantastic. Don't love that. That's fantastic. And this is your version. Well, I see what you did there. Okay. And before I shoot someone down and say, no, I hate it, I stop and I say, okay, where was he coming from? And if I can massage myself into it, maybe it's good. If I can't, then I hate it. It sucks. Move on. You know, and for the most part, I'll even say to myself, right, okay, let's do this. Throw me a punch here. I'll hit you there. All right, film that, show it. And I go, oh, no, that looks like shit. Don't let me do that ever again, guys. Oh, my gosh. Throw that out. That was horrible. In fact, you know what? I shouldn't choreograph this. Steve, come in. You choreograph this. For some reason, I can't get this, you know. So I'm the most blunt, honest that you'll ever see when it comes to choreographing anything. Or
that's great.
You know, sometimes I'll go out there and I'll go, oh, dude, I crushed that. That's fantastic. Or sometimes I'll go, oh, what a turd that was. Oh, my gosh. And I'll look to the guys and I'll go, guys, help me here because I've got nothing, you know?
Yeah. It's like you're saying it's honesty, but it's not just honesty with other people and critiquing other people's work. It's also taking that introspection and that self-reflection in a way that I feel like really screams, hey, I'm a martial artist. I have experience being in the ring and having feedback thrown at you in a way that you really can't deny it all. And then applying that sort of lack of ego and keeping that ego in check, that mindset to what this is, which is filmmaking.
Absolutely. I mean, I go by it all the time. When I take my fights into, say, let's say James Cameron, this happens constantly, and I bring my fight work into him and I say, check it out. This is what I got for you. And he'll go, this is not what I wanted at all. I go, that's fine. I got another one. Check it out. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a little bit better, but still, it's not what I'm talking about. That's okay. I got a third choice. Check this out. All right. That's more like it. I like that one. I go, okay, good. Let me ask you a question, though, Jim. In that first one, that one punch where I knocked that guy's head into that wall, really vicious, kind of like that. You don't like that at all, huh? I hate that with a passion. Exactly. That's why we're not doing it. Let's move on, Jim. So for the most part, I've been on the receiving end of being criticized, and I have no problem with it. When someone comes to me saying, man, that sucked, I go, all right, tell me why. I don't automatically stab them back going, what? And I don't debate with people. I just want to know your point of view. Why do you think that sucked? And why did you not want it? And help me to understand your position on that. And to me, I could care less whether or not someone wants to criticize me because I enjoy hearing what happened. It's when people just clap going, that was good. That's what I hate.
If you liked that, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/actionfilmmaking and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. Stay up to date on the show by visiting our website, actiondecoded.com, and by following us on Instagram at Action Filmmaking Podcast. Until next time, thanks for listening.